This is 3.6, the method of markers. This method works with lots of several items that are of similar value. There is no cash required to like pay others back like you saw with the method of sealed bids. There must be more items than players, and like I said, and reasonably close in value items. The first step is to arrange all items in an array. An array is a fixed line. So I imagine in this first example, there's like a high chewy bar. There's I think that's a Reese's Pieces a cup, a Reese's Pieces cup, red vines and high chewy, more high chewies of pencils. And so what they've done is they've lined these up in a fixed line. So in other words, I can't change the order of the items. So imagine if I had a string and if I put all these candies in a line like this, you know, the high chew is the first thing in line, and I taped it to a string, taped each candy to a string in the order that you see down below, then you'd have an array. So like I can't, they're fixed. So that red high chew is first. I can't switch the order of those two, and I can't switch these, right? And make the right Reese's first now. No, I can't. They're in a fixed line where you can't change the order. Next, the bids. So each player, let's say that we have 3 players here. You want to divide the following candies and pencils up between 3 people I chose from this class: Arto, Baltimore, and Celine. What each person is going to do is they're going to place a marker where they would and then separate the candies into 3 pieces. Because there's 3 of them, that's why they're going to separate this string into 3 equal, in their mind, equal shares. So like Arto may put a marker, may cut make a cut right here between 3 and 4. And what he's saying is that these 3 candies to him are a fair share of the candies. So we would put an A and I'll just put a 1 since that's his first marker. Now, then he would put a second marker. So maybe these candies, this second Reese's cup, and these, maybe all of those are worth his second fair share. He's saying I would be okay to receive all of the items between 4 and 9. And those, of course, 4, when I say 4, it means the Reese's Pieces cup that it is right here. And then you don't put a third marker really, because to cut this string into 3 equal parts, you only would put 2, you'd only make 2 cuts. So if there was the number of players minus 1, that's the number of actual cuts you would have to make in a string to make this so that there's the same amount of pieces as there is players. So then the second Reese's here and the last pencil, those would be a fair share in his mind as well. So he's saying, hey, I would take, like I said, these 3, I'd be happy to take those 3. That would be an equal share of the candy to me. or I would be happy to take these 5. That would be another equal share of the candy to me, and these 2. Maybe he really likes pencils for whatever reason. And I'm just making this up, but if he thought that each one of those circled pieces were equal shares in his mind, and he'd be happy receiving either one of those 3, and that in his mind would be his fair share, then that's where he would place his markers. So then Baltimore would come in, and he would, of course, he has different desires. So he may like Reese's Pieces more than he likes red vines. Maybe he can't stand red vines and he wouldn't eat them if he got them. So everybody, is going to place their markers in different places based on their likes and dislikes, right? So I'm going to erase this. I'm going to keep Arto's markers here. Let me write that back there. And then we'll go with the next person. And let's say Baltimore comes along, he sees the list of candy, and he has to place 2 markers, basically where he would cut the string and into 3 equal pieces. So he may say, like I said, let's say his goal is that he wants to make sure to get let's say that he well, I guess it doesn't, let's just say he likes high chews, and he doesn't care for chocolate, maybe. And especially doesn't like, I mean, I guess let's say he likes chocolate, but he doesn't like red vines. So maybe he would put his marker here because he would get 2 high chews. That's his first marker. And then he would put maybe his second marker here. Oh, I mean, B2. And notice how I put a B for his name, Baltimore. But then I put the first, when I go from left to right, the first marker that I placed, I put a B sub 1. And the second marker, I put a B sub 2. So that's just so you know, the first marker and the second marker for each person. All right, and then Celine is going to come in, and I'll use green for her, and she's going to place her markers based on what kind of candy that she likes. Let's say that she doesn't like anything, but she just likes let's say that she doesn't really like candy, but she wants to make sure to get the pencils maybe. So and there's only 2 pencils, so I'm not sure. Maybe she wouldn't care where she puts her first one, but she would make sure to put her second one where the pencils are. So maybe she would put like her first one here and her second one here. So again, Celine is saying that this would be a fair share for her if she got all that candy, even though she didn't really like candy. That would be a fair share for her. And this would be a fair share for her, and that would be a fair share for her. So she would be completely okay if all she got out of all that candy and pencils was just 1 pencil. She's like, I just wanted a pencil anyways. So she's like, okay with just receiving that 1 pencil. That in her mind is a fair share of the candy. Or she's okay with getting a pencil and a few pieces of candy, or she's okay with getting a lot of candy with no pencils, but she's maybe thinking that maybe she could trade a lot of the candy for 1 pencil later. as long as there's enough of it. So maybe that's just the way her opinion is. So those are the 3 shares according to her, based on the markers that she put in. So now, once everybody has placed their markers, now we go about handing out the shares to each person. And so this is the way it works. We're going to scan the array from left to right, meaning starting at the left and going to the right and finding the first marker. In this case, because we're just starting, we're looking for the marker that has a sub 1. The first marker placed by anybody. So I go from right to left, and the first one that I see is the A, is the A1. So like I said, from left to right. So I start at the left here and I move right, and I'm looking for the first marker placed, and it is the A sub 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to give this person A, who is Arto, we're going to give him his first cut, his first share, that's farthest to the left. So that would be pieces 1 through 3. So I'll make a note here. This amount, this right here, these 3, because Arto put his marker there because he would have accepted items 1 through 3 as a fair share. So those 3 go to Arto. Okay, then what we do next, and what we would do is we would erase Arto's name from everything, because we don't need, it's just confusion at this point. We don't really need like his name to be there, any of his other markers. And then what we do next is we go, now we already did a sub 1. So now we're going to go to the first marker that has a sub 2. So the second marker, somebody's second marker. So the next, so that's a B1. Let me show you. So as I'm moving, I keep moving from left to right, and that's a B. That's the next marker, but it's a sub 1. So that's I'm looking for the first marker that has a sub 2, subscript of 2. So there it is B2. So what we're going to do is we're going to give B2 his second piece. So we go from B2 all the way back to B1. That is and all the numbers in between there are what we're going to be giving to B, who is Voldemort. So it's right here from B1, which is including this candy, that candy, all the way to this candy, that goes to, so 6, 7, and 8 is going to go to Baltimore. All right, and then we still haven't given anything to Celine yet. So then then we would go to the very last mark, so now the last person, wherever their last marker is. So I can erase all the B's because they're gone now. And now we're only left with C. And I go to their last marker, and then I give them their last piece. So they just get the pencil. Right, because originally Celine said I'd be happy with just the pencil, with either a pencil, haiku, and Reese's cup, or all of this stuff. If I get one of those three, I'll be happy, and that'll be a fair share in my mind. So her fair share that she ends up receiving is her third fair share, which is from her marker C2 to the end. So for when you hand out items to almost all the people, you're always working from their marker backward to the previous marker. And so like with the same thing we did with Voldemort, we worked from his marker, I can't remember where it was, but backward. And then the last one is a little bit tricky because we go from the last marker of that person forward. So that it's a little bit more, it's a little bit confusing there. But it's just the way we do it. All right, so, and then you may be thinking, hey, well, there's actually some left over, right? So let me erase what I have written on here. And I can now circle what each person has, and I'll try to do it in the colors that I made for them. I think I hit Arto was red. I think I made Voldemort blue and Selena green, but I erased it all anyway. So, but I'm just showing Selena got the pencil, which was item 11, and then Voldemort got items 6 through 8. So that was this right here. And then Arto got items 1 through 3, which are right there. So actually, as you can see, there are items that are left over, that everybody got a fair share, and still there's some left, right? So this candy is left over, this candy is left over, that candy, and this candy. So items 4, 5, 9, and 10 are everybody got a fair share, and those are still left behind, which is like, how did that happen? But we did it. We didn't do anything wrong. It's fine. That's just the way it works. So what you would end up doing is you'd, in some random order, maybe a drawing, flipping a coin or whatnot, or rolling a dice, you would one by one, they would get to choose from the leftovers to add to their bounty. And that is the method of markers. So let's see a second example. Four players, A, B, C, and D, are dividing the array of 15 items shown below using the method of markers. The players' bids are as indicated in the figure. So we don't have to place the bids like we did with the previous problem. This one, the bids are already there. Determine which items each player will receive. So let me just review what this notation means here. For person A, they placed a marker here, here, and here. So that means that they are going to be happy with this piece, getting those 3, with getting these 4, with getting those 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or with getting these 3. Any of those would it be a fair share in her mind. And like if we did this with person B, here they would have cut the string here. Wait a second, B is right here. and B is right here. Those are their 3 markers. So they would be happy with receiving this one, this one, this one, or this one, right? And last but not least, person C put their markers here, here, and here. So they're okay with receiving these or this, or this, or this. But those two, even though if it's only 14 and 15, you think it's only 2 items. In his mind, they're the more valuable items. So he'd be okay with just receiving those two. He'd feel he got a fair share. Okay, so those are the way that they place their markers, and they, in their eyes, think that they would get a fair share if they would have gotten any one of their 4 different pieces of the way they put up the array. Now let's see this method at work. So, and I just want to share with you a little bit also whenever I'm trying to learn math, when I find it helpful, and usually after I've already learned it and kind of understand it, then I sometimes will step back and ask myself, well, how does this method work? Or try to find meaning behind the steps of it. Like why would those steps get me to the answer? And that kind of helps me. And thinking about and remember actually making meaning of the steps, just looking and thinking about this, I mean, it's an interesting way of doing this. How do they ensure that every single time everybody gets at least a fair share in their eyes? How do they make that work? How does it, because this method will work every single time. Every single time people place their markers, if we follow the directions on how to assign, everybody will get a fair share in their eyes every single time we do this, no matter where they put the markers. So it's like, how did they design this program to work this way? And if you kind of think about this, because we start with the first, let's just kind of looking at this one too. What we're going to do, because so the first share, I mean, we could give a share to but this is A's first share is these 3. B's first share is these 4. And C's first share is these 5. So what we're doing when we give the first marker that comes along, we give that person the share that comes, right, that marker and everything before it, we're ensuring that we're giving the smallest piece, we're giving away the smallest amount, and it still be a fair share, right? So we're giving away less than we need to give away. And I think that that's ultimately helping us make sure later on that we make sure there's enough for everybody to get their fair share. And then we continue to do that when we kind of, okay, we gave away that first share, and then we find the second marker, but it's the second marker that comes along. It's also going to ensure, or not, I don't think this is true all the time, and possibly not all the time, but it's going to ensure we pick one of the smaller pieces to give away. And that's why sometimes we have leftovers. That's still a fair share. So I think that kind of is why this method works. I'm not exactly sure why this method works. So that's just my theory, but it kind of helps me remember the process. So what we do is we start from left. So like I said, I'm going to take the marker and I'm going to go from left, and I'm going to move to the right, looking for the first marker on the board. Here we don't care. We're just looking for any marker. Later, the sub numbers, like A sub 1. You know what I mean? Like right now, I'm just looking for any marker, but later on, the sub number, this is called the sub number, a subscript. The subscript will matter later on, right? But right now, we're just looking for the first marker as we move left to right, because it's going to have a 1. But anyways, so I start at the left and I go to the right and I find the first marker and spot, and that is A1. So I'm going to give A1, this person A, their first. I go backward to the beginning here. I would have gone backward to her previous marker, but like I just go backward to the beginning. Okay, and so I'm gonna give A her first share, which is items 1 through 3. Okay. Now I can kind of erase A. She's kind of gone. We've already given her her things, so we don't have to stress about giving her a share anymore because we already gave one to her. Okay, so then I keep moving from left to right, and now I'm going to be looking for that sub number. So if you look at the top of the page again, that sub number, right? We're going to be looking for this sub number to be 2. And the first number going left to right that has a subscript of 2, then that's going to tell us who's going to get their second share. So I am moving from left. Okay, I just stopped. I just gave her 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to start at 4 and start moving to the left. And I'm looking for the first marker that has a subscript of 2, which is right here, the B. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from B and I'm going backward, just like I did and before to her previous marker, because between 2 markers, that was what she called a fair share. So we're going to give B2 that fair share between markers B1 and B2. So that's also known as her second share. Person B five, because the markers start right here and then go in right here. So 5 to 7. All right, and then we can cross B off because B is no longer, we took care of them. We made sure they got we made sure that we got them their share, and now we don't need to stress about them anymore. All right, now I continue moving. We just gave away 7, but like I'm gonna continue moving. And now I'm looking for, it doesn't matter what the letter is, but I'm looking for a subscript of 3. Then I'm going from left to right, looking for the first subscript of 3. So we started at 7 and I move, that's a subscript of 1, a subscript of 2, a subscript of 2, and there's a subscript of 3. That's the first one that I encounter, so it's C. So I always go backwards until I get to the last person. So there's 4 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, and D. We're dividing this up into. I gave something to A already. I gave something to B already. I need to give something to C. And then the last person, I'm going to go forward when I assign them something. So for this one, I'm going to start at C and I'm going to go backward to their previous marker. And so I'm going to give them between this marker and this marker. So they're going to get 10, 11, 12, and 13. So give C, whoever it is, but short for a person's name, items 10 through 13. Okay, then we have one more person left to give to, right? I already gave C something, and now I just need to give D something, and it's going to be their last share, and that's the share that's from their marker to the end. So then what we're going to do, and now I can erase C from everything because C is gone. And now I find that I keep moving, I keep that pattern of, okay, now I just gave away item 13 and I keep moving to the right, looking for the last marker. And the first marker that starts with a 3 has a subscript of 3, and then there it is. Well, I wouldn't worry about subscripts right now, but I would just, the last marker, I'm looking for the last marker of this last person I need to give something to, and it's D. So it's right here. So we're going to give them their last share, and their last share, because of the last person, they get the last share. Their last share is not going to be created by going backward. No, that's the wrong direction. It's going to be created by going here to the end. That's how we're going to make that share, because this is their last, this is the last piece to give out. So they're just going to get 15. So they get items 15. And I know that's the one thing that I feel like is a easy thing to mess up when you're doing this process, is when I get to the last person, I still want to go back. But as we went back to create the shares, we always were going back, and then the last person that last person when you give them their share, you're going forward. So that's what kind of throws me for a loop a little bit when I do this problem. So you just have to remember, and I think it helps, like I get like doing what I did is saying, okay, I gave out, and this D is the last person, so I'm gonna go here and forward to find their share. Okay, so let's see if there's any leftovers. So we handed out 1 through 3. That went to person A, and then we 5 through 7. That went to person B, 10 through 13, and then item 15. So we can see that this is left over for 4 items. I'm just gonna write this: items 4, 8, 9, right, and 14. Those are the leftovers. And like I said, they would hand them out one by one. They'd be able to choose, and they do randomly they get to choose from the leftovers to kind of finalize this division. You can double check here by checking like that A did in fact, each person got a fair share according to them, and you can say, okay, well, A's marker was here, so between here and here, that would have been a fair share for them. Then B's markers were here, and then that was a fair share to B. And then C had place markers here and here, so giving that 10 to 13 to them was a fair share to them. And then a D had a marker here, which means between there and the end was a fair share to him. So they did in fact get all fair shares. So you can just kind of double check it when you circle at the end all the shares that were given out. All right, I hope you found this very valuable. I hope that and that you understand it. And I feel like you might want to just practice doing it yourself, step by step. And I think that helps. All right, have a great day. Take care. Bye.